Let's talk about how not to crowdfund a film. And this is based on a discussion that I had with somebody who wanted to hire me and bring me on to a crowdfunding project for a film. Let's call this in-pocket money. This is the amount of money that the producer or the creator or whoever it was wanted to have in their pocket in order to complete this film project. Actually, there's a little bit of a caveat there too, but this is the amount that that person wanted to have in their pocket after the crowdfunding campaign went forward. And this was $100,000. So the person wants $100,000 in their pocket after the Kickstarter campaign, or whether it was Kickstarter or Indiegogo or whatever it was. That was still up in the air, but after the crowdfunding campaign. So needs to raise. So let's talk about that. Well, you know that you don't, just because you raise a certain amount on a Kickstarter or other crowdfunding campaign doesn't mean that that amount gets deposited into your bank account. You have to pay the fees for the platform that you're running it on, and you also have to pay payment processing fees. So that could be 8%, 9%, 9.5%, something like that, depending on the amount raised. The amount raised and the amount being charged does mean that the payment processing fee can change a little bit. But let's be conservative, because that's important, and let's say that they are going to take 10%. So in order for the producer to put that $100,000 in their pocket, they have got to raise 110% times that. So they are going to need, let's get some thousand separators here, they're going to need $110,000 on the Kickstarter page in order to net that $100,000. Now, the producer did not want to do any work or have anything to do with any part of the crowdfunding campaign. And as you know, if you've been watching the other videos on this channel, because that's what this is all about, it's a massive amount of work to run a crowdfunding campaign. And of course, when I'm talking about running a crowdfunding campaign, I'm talking about the conceptualization of the idea all the way through your pre-launch, and then running the campaign itself when it's actually live, and then handling everything on the back end, fulfilling rewards and all of that. And the producer was talking about basically hiring out this marketing company. Now, I have no idea how much the marketing company was going to charge, because I imagine that's large. So plus, see, marketing company fees. Because you are asking something very large there for them to just completely take over and do all of it. You know, who knows how much that is? I don't really even have a way to put a number here, because of course they didn't tell me what that number was. But, you know, if you're hiring a marketing company for, let's say you're going to try to do, you know, from zero to actually the launch of the crowdfunding campaign in 3 months, if you're going to pay a marketing company for basically 3 months of full-time work, you know, it could be a little bit less than that, but it's basically 3 months of full-time work, you're going to have a lot of money there. I don't even know what you would put in there, but this is like 3 months of full-time work. So let's just say that is plus money, 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 you know, right in there. Then that marketing company was going to hire me in order to oversee it. So basically, it was kind of like using that marketing company as a middleman. So, of course, that marketing company has to make money. That's their money. And then, of course, in this case, they wanted to pay me, which would have been whatever it is. I was just going to charge an hourly rate. But if they're going to pass through that, you know, to me, that's money, 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 money there. Okay, but then I asked them, how do they want to raise this $100,000? What's the reward structure going to be? And the reward structure on film projects and other videography projects, that can be rather weird. You know, some people want to just go in for digital access. Often that doesn't work very well. Sometimes there are some high-level tiers where somebody would get producer credits or something like that. But they said they wanted to actually have some type of physical product, some type of reward that people could get that's a physical item. So we would have to develop that, because this was completely from the beginning. You know, I don't know what the film was, but they wanted some type of physical product to be associated with that film for their backers to come and get, which is very difficult, by the way, because the film's not made yet. So there's no fan base for this film built in, you know, who would want to come and get, let's say, reasonably simple items like a mug, a shirt, you know, a koozie cup of some kind, or something like that. You know, those are the kinds of things that a lot of people go to for crowdfunding films and videos and things like that. It doesn't work all that well, but if you go there, you got to do all of your product development, product dev, and prototyping, you know, to make sure that you've actually got some products. That costs money. People overseeing it, within graphic artists, if you're going to have, hire on other artists and graphic designers, and then you got to find the right manufacturer, and you got to prototype it, and you got to make sure it can be done. And boy, that can take forever, and it can also take money, depending on what kind of product it is that you're trying to do. And of course, it seems to me that if you have this completely unknown film that nobody's ever heard of, then hey, you want a t-shirt of it or something like that, probably isn't going to be that big of a draw, even though those are the easiest kinds of products to do. But then you got to figure in, okay, I asked them, how much do you want people to pledge? And I believe they said they wanted to do it at an average pledge of $40. Okay, so that means that whatever kind of product it was that they wanted to design and prototype for this, you're going to have to pledge $40 for. And so that gives us some type of idea about how much that product can cost the crowdfunder. But, let's say that as an average here, let's say that it's going to cost 1/5. Let's say you're going to pay 1/5 of that $40 in order to get the product. So you're talking about an $8 product. So that, so that tells me you're not making, some type of crazy electronic gadget or something like that. That would be out of the realm of possibility anyway. But let's say product cost, $8 product cost. Then you also have to think, well, in order to do this, how many backers are we going to need? So we got to raise $110,000. So $110,000. And you want to do it $40 at a time. That means you need 2,750 backers. You need 2,750 backers to come in here and help you out. And that gets you to 110,000. We can check that. Yes, okay. So if you've got 2,750 backers and you're trying to buy an $8 product for them to pledge for, I mean, maybe you try to bring that down a bit. Maybe you try like $6 or something like that. Let's do that. I don't know what you get for that, but let's say you're budgeting $6 for your product. So then you've got to buy all of that product, $650 times 6. So that is $16,500. Oh, let me put that over here. So product cost, that is $16,500. I may have said $1,600, but $16,500. Now, you can start to see what you're looking at here, because if you raise $110,000 and then you buy this much product, and of course we're also going to need product freight. You're also going to need shipping. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then we also need some type of buffer, some kind of contingency buffer in this as well. But you can already start to see that if I got to hand this guy, the producer, $100,000 at the end of this, I can't take this $100,000. I get $110,000, get $100,000 in my bank account, and then go buy $16,500, because then my producer didn't get the money that he needs to finish his film. And that's what the people are, theoretically supposed to be waiting for in order to get it done. As a result of this crowdfunding campaign, we'd be short. We're going to have to ship this to the warehouse, and I have no idea what to budget here. Freight's crazy right now. I don't know if it's coming from overseas. Maybe it's someplace domestic. But let's say that we got to spend $5,000 to ship whatever those products are from the warehouse, from the manufacturer, wherever they're being manufactured, to the warehouses. So actually, that might not be conservative enough, but let's just go with that right now. So now we are up to $21,500 to get the product done, and then you're going to have to ship this stuff out. And I don't know if you've been to the post office lately to ship things, but that's expensive too. In order to get it from the warehouse actually to the backer's door, of course, you've got to buy the box, you've got to buy all the packing material, you've got to pay for the labor in order to pack up all of the boxes, and then you have to pay the postage as well in order to get all of that out. And of course, the amount that postage costs will depend on the size of the product and also the weight of the product. So if we're doing a really light product like a shirt, maybe it won't cost so much. This is just round numbers anyway. But we got something that $40. What if we said, shipping's expensive. Let's say $18. What if you were just on the round saying we could spend $18 per backer, $2,750. That means, that would be $49,500 in order to spend just in shipping, which is a lot, but not out of the realm of possibility. Not out of the realm of possibility. Especially when you think you could have, some that backers that are going to be less expensive if they're closer by. But then, are you doing international backers? Are you going to have to ship things internationally? You're global from day one when you launch your crowdfunding campaign. So if you don't really know what your product is, especially in this planning stage, you may even want to be more conservative than this. So what do we got right here? That's $71,000 right there. And this shipping, I've talked about this in other videos, but some people are extremely surprised to find out that shipping, like on Kickstarter, if you then put in shipping, if you get a $40 pledge and then you say, okay, you're shipping to someplace in the US, it's $16, they add in the $16 for the shipping, the $16 adds towards your goal. So actually that's why a lot of people will actually do a pledge manager and charge shipping after the campaign once you are much closer to actually having everything done, so that you've got the more accurate shipping costs, and you get all the backers to come by and pay their shipping cost, that's more accurate from where they are, perhaps from a warehouse to them. And then you come in and do that later. So that's possible that this $49,000 right here, almost $50,000, could come later. But that means that, well, you'd have to add, you'd have to raise a total of $160,000 in order to get this done. And then, like $15,000 sounds tight, when you're talking about, all of your marketing company fees, product development fees, whatever it is. We didn't talk about just flat out marketing. Because this person had no built-in social media. It was a brand new film. The producer was just working on it on their own. So there wasn't any type of, Facebook page or Twitter presence or Instagram or anything like that. There was no built-in anything. So where's that traffic going to come from? It's probably going to be creating advertising and then marketing people, and then marketing to people by buying social media ads. That's probably where it would come from. And, if you're trying to get 2,750 backers, what are you going to budget from the very beginning to try to get that in there? I mean, what if you said, listen, in total, between creating all the creatives, if you're going to do video for YouTube, or you're going to do, some nice pictures and things for Facebook or Instagram, you're going to need to have an artist in there, and then you're going to actually have to pay the social media company to promote it. I mean, what if you said $5 per backer, that I would spend up to $5 to get my 2,750 backers? Okay, so you might have a marketing budget in that case of $13,750, which is going to have to come before the campaign is run at all. And the producer may want to recoup that amount of money out of the Kickstarter campaign if they're, fronting it. And they're like, well, when this is raised, then I need my marketing money back. I need to recoup, this fee, this fee, this fee, all of this. So all of this right here, that's, well, $99,750. So that's right at $100,000. So that's $200,000. What are you going to put in here? Let's just say another $50,000 in, because particularly I would expect that hiring a multi-person marketing company, my guess, for several months, that's not going to be cheap. And then plus, remember, if you are trying to outsource all of this, the people who are running your campaign don't get to stop when the Kickstarter, is over, because then you've got to order all of this stuff, you've got to manage all of this stuff, you've got to manage the production, the manufacturing, make sure it's all done right, all of the freighting. So you're still be paying somebody for a lot of work for many months after the campaign. And so, yeah, I mean, $50,000, when you think about all of that, probably $50,000 pretty easy. So let's just use that, because this is the kind of round numbers that, we probably talked about on that phone conversation. I don't recall exactly what numbers we used, but okay, that's $250,000 that you're going to have to raise then. So that's actually bringing up my backer count. You can see the problem that we're having here. So we got to raise $250,000 now. Okay, now we could say that our average pledge is going up because we'd want everybody to pay for their own shipping. So we could say, hey, we're going to have a $56 average pledge now, because now we're actually taking into account shipping. So if we're trying to get to $250,000, $56 at a time, you now need 4,464 backers, which means more marketing. Because we just budgeted enough marketing to get to 2,750, right? So this is the kind of thing that I worked through with them. And as we were talking through it, I was like, there's no way that they're going to be able to go through with this. They're not going to be able to do it. And I guarantee you when they go back and they talk to this producer and say, this is the kind of thing that we're looking at here, that he's just not going to be able to go forward. This isn't going to work. When you try to put all these numbers together here, this isn't going to work, trying to do it this way. And it makes it even worse that $100,000 that the producer was trying to raise and put in his pocket in order to complete this film project was not even enough to complete the film. So if you ran this Kickstarter campaign or crowdfunding campaign and you said, hey, I'm trying to bring out this movie and I'll get you a cup or a mug or something like that too, or whatever it is that's going on, or whatever other product it is that's being included in there, and then, hey, we'll be able to do this film. Well, actually, they're not going to be able to do that film because $100,000 didn't cover it. The producer wanted to be able to raise this $100,000 through a crowdfunding campaign in order to prove to other investors that there was enough interest in the film in order to get the investors to put in more money to actually complete the film. So it wasn't even so much about that $100,000. He needed the $100,000, but he needed much more. And so he was just trying to get everyone on the Kickstarter page kind of as social proof to investors to say, hey, give me even more money to finish this film. I do not like running crowdfunding campaigns like that. And that was a red flag for me when I found that out. Because, if it's actually not enough to complete your project, then don't put that on the page, because you're obligating yourself to something that in the beginning that you can't even do. And so, there's no guarantee that those investors are actually going to come through. And then, things go up in costs and things like that during the project anyway. So even if he got the money from the crowdfunding campaign and then it falls through with the investors, well, he's made a lot of crowdfunding people angry who were fans and came, early for that project and were crowdfunding the project thinking he was going to be able to make this film. And then the investor doesn't come through, or maybe the investor comes through and he doesn't come through with enough, and there are other problems. And to me, this just all seems like a nightmare. This seems like a complete nightmare. And it doesn't help much if the producer did want to come in and do a lot more work himself. I mean, it does help some because the producer might be willing to do the work without having to shell out the marketing company's fees and all of that. But then the producer is not doing what? The producer would not be making the movie that he was trying to make because he'd be trying to manage cups and mugs and manufacturing things, which he probably has no experience with, or might have no experience with anyway.